right, we're live. Your favorite pseudo-intellectual here, Lord Hellespont the Fifth, and I'm very happy to welcome Jamie Opulence, who has graciously and generously accepted my invitation to review his beautiful, unique, and very tasteful collection. And hopefully we'll also get a peek at the kind of man Jamie is while discussing this collection. And it is really a collection that represents a man whose journey has taken him through the world. And it also represents his openness to that world and his care, affection, and strong bond to the people he has around him, to the people who are closest to him. Welcome, Jamie Opulence.
Thank you, Lord. I very much wanted to come this evening to really just talk and in some ways open my heart. I really feel like going deep. I find that you're very articulate. You're able to ask questions eloquently and pull the information, and I feel very comfortable and safe discussing with you. So I'm super excited to get into this and share the platform with you.
You're really too kind, Jamie. I'm not sure if I'm deserving of any of that, but one thing that you can take for granted, it's just the two of us. No one is watching this channel, so we can have a very private conversation indeed.
Sure.
Before we go on with anything else, I just wanted to share what am I wearing today. I wanted to wear the JLC Reverso Grand Date on this beautiful Casa Fagliano canvas leather combination strap. And it will become clear, I think, soon enough why I'm wearing this. But one of the reasons I'm wearing this is the new Batman movie has just come out, and I might actually go and see it. So what better reason to wear a Reverso watch than a Batman movie?
So for me, I'm wearing a JLC Reverso on the standard strap, which came with the watch. It's a duo face. But I have to say, Lord, so for you, I've set the reverse to your time zone. If I'm 11, just gone 11. But love this watch. But can I just come back to your watch, the canvas strap that you've got? I believe they do in a blue, and my eye is really on that strap.
I'm gonna quickly show you that too, because I have that as well.
Wow.
That actually is my favorite because it really brings out the blued aspect.
No way. I've been eyeing this strap several times. I've been on the website. You can't get too much detail, but I'm absolutely convinced that strap will go perfect with my Reverso. So it's a leather with canvas. Is that right? It's like a canvas. Yeah.
Yes. So you can see the Casa Fagliano stamp.
Wow.
This is calfskin leather, unlike the Cordovan that the house actually uses when it's made in Argentina, in Burlingame. And this part of it is canvas. I know the JLC website is usually very short on stock when it comes to this.
Oh, actually, yes, quite right. As far as I got was, if you want, you have to call this number or send an email. There was no add to basket and get it delivered. I
will ask a few people that I know in the boutiques here, and let's see if we can work out something for you. So since we started with this,
sure.
Let's talk a little bit about your Reverso and what brought you to Gégé-Lecoutre as a brand?
Yeah, sure. So around 3 years ago, I flew to Geneva, uh, and I purchased. You don't have it here today, but I purchased JLC Atmos clock, Jaeger LeCoultre Atmos clock. Um, so this was a wedding anniversary gift. Oh no, sorry, I didn't realize I sent you the picture. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so this was my first interaction with JLC. I'd been collecting wristwatches, but it goes deeper. Then I go into pocket watches. Then I wanted a clock. So
Yeah,
this for me was the best clock that I could find for my home, for the living room. So
mhm,
yeah, that was my first interaction, and I flew to Geneva. I bought it brand new, flew back. Just special, so special, and I didn't really think anything further of it of JLC at that point. And a few years went by. Tim Wright was doing a live stream from the JLC boutique in Korea. He's showing all the watches, and he's got this very watch, and he's absolutely, oh, this is incredible. And it was very infectious, and I lost my head, and I just struck.
yeah,
Within sort of 48 hours, I bought it, ordered it from Portugal, delivered. And
amazing.
this JLC is safe. It's super safe. I put this on if I want to go low key. I just want to be myself, nobody else. I don't need to try and show off or try and be flashy. It's just me. Put my hood up and just get on with my business. Sort of. That's how I feel with this Reverso.
That's one of the beautiful things about Gégé Lecoultre as a brand, because they bring a touch of classic with a touch of modern. They bring together tradition with innovation, and they bring together. They make a watch that's at once very unique, very special, but also incredibly low key.
Mm.
And actually, the Atmos clock is a beautiful representation of that, because in a way, at first look, it might seem to many who don't know the clock and who don't know the brand something very outmoded,
Mm-hmm.
almost something that you would get when you're antique shopping.
Sure.
Uh, but if you would you try to explain to our viewers what's so special about an Atmos clock?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, it's in the name Atmos, which of course is atmospheric, atmosphere. So the way in which this clock functions, the way it draws its energy, is from the atmosphere. So at the very top of the clock is a thin strip of metal. For every 1 Celsius of temperature change, so of course I'm living in an apartment, it gets warm, it gets cold throughout the day. For every 1 Celsius of temperature change, it gives 48 hours of power reserve. So it draws the energy from the atmospheric change in temperature, and there's a gas in the very rear. There's a gas in this like cylinder, which expands and contracts. And as it expands and contracts, obviously that's creating an energy, which yeah, gives it power. So they say this Atmos clock can run for like 2,000 years before you'd have any issue. It's an incredible design, and just going back to JLC, forgetting the clock, they say JLC is the watchmaker's watchmaker, right? And this clock is a special, special piece of engineering.
Very beautiful. Again, like you said, it's the kind of timepiece that will outlast you, that will survive you, and that you can trust to work
Yeah.
much beyond your lifetime, and perhaps pass on some of your memories, some of your feelings, and
Mm.
one would hope some of your values to the next
Yeah. It
generation.
was uh, it was extremely emotionally driven, the purchase, and you'll probably find that a lot of my purchases are emotionally driven. I have ways of relating to each piece, and yeah, it's often emotionally driven. So it was a way of celebrating a certain anniversary of marriage. I sort of got away with it by saying it's a gift to you, my darling. I've got to go to Switzerland to collect it for you. Um, you can't be buying these. You can buy secondhand, but they're so delicate. If
Yeah.
you, let's say it's working right now, if you go and just pick it up, the cleaner, she's dusting away. You pick it up and move it. You're at real risk of destroying it. So because that right at the bottom, the balance wheel, there's a lever that you have to lock.
Yeah.
You have to lock it in position before you move it. So of course, if you're buying it secondhand, you don't know, and that's why I insisted that we get a brand new one, because then I know what it's endured, which is nothing. It came straight from the factory.
It's really beautiful piece, and speaking to the emotion you have invested in it. Again, to me, Gégé Lecoutre is a brand that brings together opposites, right? We talked about, being classical and being modern at the same time, being traditional and innovative at the same time. And I think also, your decisions when you cross paths with these watches and these clocks, I think you actually bring together something very emotional and effective, but also something very rational and logical. They have utility for you. They have a place in your life. It's not the emotion of oh, what the hell, I have the money and I kind of like the dial color of this watch. Let's buy it. It's not that.
No. It has we have the vitrina in the corner of the room. It has prominence in the room, and it's a statement piece. You walk into the room, you have your piano, you have the clock. These things draw your eyes. I mean, generally we don't really do guests, but it does. It is a statement. But we want nice things around us, and I love this clock. And I tell you, my relationship with JLC. It feels like it was an accident. It wasn't intentional at all. I knew I was looking for a clock, and this was what I considered the best on the market. Okay, it was JSE, but I didn't really know what I was buying. I got it. Then I went into the Reverso. But as I've got these pieces and I've come to start reading and learning about JLC, I've been pleasantly surprised and pleasantly pleased. But I'll tell you, it was not intentional. It was by accident. It was not an intentional relationship with JLC, but it's turned out to be just perfect.
And I love the way that you put that situation and that pride of place this clock has in your room.
Oh yeah.
Because
well, so if I can just so you can visualize, we got the corner of the room. So I bought the clock. I was like, right, well, we need to get somewhere that we can protect this clock, because you can't just, I've got a 7-year-old running around. She's going to destroy it. So bought the vitrina. I got the clock. Above that, I've got a handmade globe. Yeah. So I care about having nice surroundings, and it goes well.
That's the thing about the work of art, really. Of course, they're beautiful to contemplate on their own, but there's something that happens to that room, to that living space, when you have something that's so aesthetically pleasing in the extreme as part of that space. It kind of opens it up to a different level of experience. Our mothers have this special gift usually, that it doesn't have to be an Atmos clock. They would find some little unique piece and they put something together and they say, for me, it pulls the entire room together. Yeah. And that's really a very good summary of that heightened experience. You put something that's very valuable and pleasing to you in a certain pride of place in your living room, and suddenly that becomes your space.
Yeah, well, my wife's done everything else. I've just taken care of the clock department. She's the one with the mother's touch. I got my way with the clock. But yeah, JLC, Lord, just special. And when I look at these brands, I look at the way they conduct themselves in the world and their message that the brand speaks, and I want to align myself with JLC, Patek. These are beautiful, beautiful messages that are coming from these companies.
Yeah, I really like your Verso as well. Of course, the dual face increases the utility of the watch, but I also enjoy the fact that these new tribute line has something very unique going on with the carriage, right? I do myself prefer the engine turns perlage decoration that the inside of the carriage has, but I think with the elegance of your watch, this sunray design seems very.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It reminds me of Sunrays.
Mhm.
That's what it reminds me of. Exactly that.
Sunburst dial,
Yeah.
sunray decoration
Yeah.
on the carriage. It's a perfect combination.
Wow. And also, just go back to the dial. It's not just this watch, but it's so special. Different times of the day. Like if I look at it now, it looks very dark. Different
Yeah,
times of the day with uh, different light. You get a different experience to the eye when you look at it.
yeah. I mean, even in these two pictures, right? You have
Wow.
here you have something like a very deep navy blue almost, and then here you have very purplish hues on either side, but also a burst of light that also breaks through. Diametrically, it's beautiful. It's really a very
Yeah.
nice style.
And I love the whole Reverso story with the British Army officers in India, because I absolutely love India. I love India. I've been 3 times, and it's by far my favorite country. So when I get into the whole story of the Reverso, it's kind of like one way of me connecting with India. And I like also high society and fine things in life and whatnot. So I can only imagine the British Army officers, their gin and tonics, their polo. It's
It's
me.
a it's a gentleman's watch for sure.
Yeah.
It's of course nothing in and of itself would make anyone a gentleman, but it certainly goes with the entire ethos of being a gentleman. And there's something that's associated with the British Raj. I think that's why it has been very popular over the years to combine it with an ostrich strap, as if it's like an implicit gesture to the Prince of Wales, whose coat of arms, of course, is
Yeah.
the ostrich plumes. So I really find that connection fascinating to the British Raj, to the game of polo, which is somewhat reflected also in the leather straps that we use today on our Reversos, which are designed by Casa Fagliano, that has
Ah,
the Polo
I
Boots.
can lose my head as well when I bought the watch. I bought it without seeing it. It was bought. It was brand new. It arrived, but the smell of the leather, I can only imagine. And then I start digging into the story. Casa Fagliano, they make these polo boots. I can only imagine the polo boots. Yeah, I have no use for polo boots, but my God, I'd love to get my hands on some and just give them a good sniff, because the leather on this strap is lovely, absolutely beautiful.
And we are, it shows that we are Archie's acolytes at some level with our sniffing of
Ah,
precious.
it smells wonderful.
but listen, if not Polo Boots, certainly it's maybe you have a place for some Jotpurs or Chelseas in your life. You
I
know, you
think they sell shoes, right? They sell shoes, not just polo
can,
boots.
and you can also go. I know a lot of these exquisite bespoke makers
Yeah.
have what they call in Britain crop, which is what we call here in the U.S. Cordovan, a
Yeah.
horse shell leather. So it's
Yeah.
actually it's a little bit more rare from calf skin because, of course, calf skin is a byproduct of industrial meat. And when it comes to horsehide, it's also a byproduct of people who eat horses, but that's just about one country that does that, Kazakhstan. There are other places, of course, but it makes that leather very rare because
Yeah.
no one is as cruel to kill those beautiful creatures just to make straps.
Yeah. If I can, so the type of shoes that I often like to wear is maybe uh, Timberland hybrid boots, not Timberland classic boots, but they're sort of a cross between trainer. But either those or boat shoes, deck shoes.
Nice.
If I can get myself on a pair of those from Casa Fagliano, or I'll be a happy guy. So I've written it down. I'm gonna go once we're done to hopefully.
They have an entire line of ready-to-wear shoes
Yeah.
now, and I'm sure just as they do it with the straps, they can make something for you if you take the
Yeah,
time.
well, I prefer to just be discreet and order and be
Yeah.
done. I don't want to get into whole custom shoes, but yeah,
Don't be-
JLC Casa Fagliano, and I just believe that they didn't cut any corners with their choice of who makes that strap. They
Absolutely,
chose the best.
absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about Patek because we all know that has been your tagline for the longest.
Mm.
Patek is king, and
King.
you have some very special pieces, of course, by Patek. But I think when I think of Jamie Opulence, and I said you are a man whose journey has taken him through the world, I think of the Patek World Time. Can you
Yeah.
tell me a little more about your World Time?
Yeah, sure. So to get this world time, it was a sacrifice, and it didn't just. I'm gonna prepare my cigar if I may,
Of
uh,
course.
whilst we do this. So it didn't just happen where okay, I woke up one day and I said, "Oh, I'm gonna buy this watch and be done." You know, it was a whole journey over a number of years. So 2019, I bought my first Patek, which was Patek Calatrava 5119J. I can share if I may,
Of course,
Lord,
please.
because it will add the context to the story. So I have them here. So let's open. Okay, I'm gonna press share window. Here we go. So the very okay. This was my very first Patek Calatrava, and very accessible. I would say for anyone who thinks Patek might be out of reach. If you look at this model 5119J, it's actually relatively accessible in the when you do a comparison with Submariners. I mean, this is probably 15,000 ish.
Would
So
you would you allow me to say a few words
sure.
about what makes them also very special? Of course,
Mm.
that hobnail bezel, the French
Yeah.
uh,
French hobnail. Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's very definitive and singular to Patek. Other people use it for decorations, but when it's on the bezel, it's very Patek. The enamel dial, of course, with those Roman numerals, it's exquisite. And the hands, like those leaf, very delicate leaf hands, the feuille. it's just a beautiful piece. But please go on. Sorry
Yeah,
for it.
sure. So, I've done a lot of business travel with work, and I always remember the in-flight magazine, British Airways and whatnot. They would always have an advert from Patek Philippe, and the classic strapline that Patek Philippe have used for many, many years is it's a picture of a father with his son, and it's the famous words, "You never actually own a Patek Philippe. You merely look after it for the next generation." Okay?
Now
Those words,
it's become tragically correct, of course, in another way. But please
yeah,
go.
those words, they speak deep to the heart. Everything I'm doing is about, legacy and what I'm going to leave for my little one. And I got one eye firmly on delivering for that little girl. That's my daughter. So, yeah, I had to get a Patek, and this was the only accessible watch at the time. So yeah, I got this watch. Fast forward 2020, I then got the Aquanaut Rose Gold, which was the 5167R, I believe. Yeah, 5167R. I have to be honest, Lord. This watch, I was in a stage of my life where there was a lot of euphoria. I was making, so much money, so quick, and I lost my head. And obviously, watches were attractive, and I thought, yeah, I gotta get this watch. Look at me, I'm so cool. I'm the cool dude, all that crap. And that leads perfectly on to the world time. So
Oh,
I,
you don't have to. You don't have to excuse yourself to a brown man who loves chocolate dials when you have such a beautiful watch. But I do understand what you mean. Sometimes we go after, or at least lust after, these high pieces that are not really us, that are not really meaningful to us on a personal level. So tell me how you moved on from these pieces to the world time, which is
yeah.
more your.
So I am. If you could pull up the picture that you were just showing, which was the world time. I am a big traveler, and that's worldwide travel with work. So in the year before the pandemic, 2020, I did 62 flights, constantly on the go, everywhere: Singapore, Sydney, uh, San Francisco, New York, India, just constantly traveling. This watch is perfect for me. For me, I think globally. I was born in Germany, grew up in England, live in Spain since I was 17 years old. My wife is Colombian, Turkish, Lebanese, Iraq. I travel the world. I'm so global in my mindset, and this watch for me fits everything about me, like the way my brain is and the way I function. It's just me, world, time, global thinking. Yeah.
Love it.
The
Love
small
it.
problem is, how do I get this watch? Yeah.
And how would you?
We'll come on to that. What's the panel smoking? We should. What are you smoking, Lord?
I am smoking the house cigar of this beautiful, small but very exquisite place, a lounge in Beverly Hills called Nazareth's. Nazareth is a very classy Armenian gentleman, and he really looks after his customers. And he has this beautiful house cigar that comes in all these different sizes. So I chose a Robusto today because it's we don't have all the time in the world. We have a little bit of time, and we want to be efficient, So I went for that. What about you, Jamie?
For me, Davidoff Millennium Pyramides, and it's absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, coming back to the watch, to get this watch, it's a hefty expense. So I got creative. I just put the text out to the dealer who sold me the Aquanaut, and I said, "Hey, could you get me this watch? And if so, what would the price be?" He came back with the price, and then I said, "Well, can we do a deal?" And I part exchanged. So I part exchanged the Aquanaut, the Calatrava, and also a pretty simple Rolex Datejust, as well as some cash. And then I was, so the cash element was like 20 grand. So it was just giving away free things that I'd already bought over the previous years. The only sort of real hurt that I sort of felt was the 20 grand. Otherwise, it was just giving free items that I didn't really, So that was how I got the watch. If I had to buy it cash, I'd really, really struggle to do it. But to buy it just with part exchange and 20 grand, it was mentally quite easy to do. But I'm absolutely sure it was the correct deal. The correct deal. I love this watch.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I can say anything against this, because Patek World Time in and of itself is a signature watch, but with this beautiful cloisonné dial, what else can a man ask for? It's just
it's special. Yeah, it's so special. The way they make the enamel, the cloisonné being the gold strips that form the maps, so the countries, and then of course they fill within the gold strips, the cloisonné, they fill it with enamel. It's art. It's art. It's actually art on a watch, and of course the art of watchmaking is enough as it is, right? The complication that is world time, it's complicated and it's an art on its own. But to put that map of the earth in the middle, but it was the earth that got me. The world time, the function of, okay, I have visions of me flying to Singapore, pressing the button, bang, 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 I'm on Singapore time. It's bloody gorgeous.
Yeah, the world is yours. And again, each piece is unique, of course, in the way it is painted. It's really in that way a unique of art rather than a mass produced commodity. But of course, when it comes to this level of watchmaking, just contemplating that movement with the micro rotor, it's really special.
Yeah.
And of course, this watch is paired up really nicely with another one. And I just want to share that with your permission.
Please, please, please. So you've heard how emotional and this world time, my world time, how emotionally driven the purchase was. So I put it out to the local Patek shop. I want to buy a watch for my wife. Okay, sir, come in. We'll go through what we've got. And then the first thing she said is, "I've got the perfect watch for your wife." I said, "Okay, go on then." And then she pulls out this watch. Oh my God, I lost my head.
It was meant
lost. Yeah, it was just, when they just pair the perfect wine with the perfect steak or the perfect cigar, or she knew putting that watch on my wife's wrist I lost my head. I didn't know. I didn't have any clue what the cost is. I had to sort of keep myself together and not give anything away whilst I was seeing it all. But yeah, I was wearing my world time, and she put that on my wife's wrist, and I just had to find a way to get it, and of course we did. So yeah.
Such a beautiful piece. Look at that. I mean, look at that diamond decorated bezel, the colors. Again, I said I love my shades of brown. So just that brown on the dial is very attractive to me. And of course, it comes with the matching tang buckle that's also encrusted with diamonds. What a unique and beautiful piece. And we talk a lot about his and hers watches, and this is, let's be honest, this is not in the range of every single one of us here, but I think that's just a beautiful idea. We try all sorts of ways to bring our significant others, especially the woman in our life, into the hobby in some way, to make it meaningful to them at least. And what better way than his and hers, and the way this comes together, and the way it came together in terms of the journey that took you to both of these watches.
Sure.
Endow them with really immense significance that's connected to beautiful life events and your transformation as a man as well, right? As if with each of these steps, you became a better version of yourself, if I'm allowed to say that. Of course, who am I to judge you as a man? But
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's correct. I think that's correct, because you rewind back to the start. I just began my journey with the Calatrava, and then you level up, and everything happened the way it happened for the reason it happened. And I have 10 years of incredible marriage with my wife, and this coincided, the purchase of this watch, with the 10th year that we'd been married. So it was I didn't think financially, that the finances didn't come into it. It was just, I had to get this watch for her. When I saw her put that on her wrist in the shop, I just had to find a way to get it. And I just had these visions of me, because a lot of the travel that I do is on my own. It's often me going away, for business. Wife stays at home with the little one. I just had these visions, of course, not much traveling right now, but when I do get traveling, I just had these visions of me wearing my world time, being in Singapore, for example, and her being here at home with her world time, and we're connected. Although we're connected anyway, we're also connected with the watches.
Also, let me, alhamdulillah, Baruch Hashem, 10 years. That's a very, very beautiful recognition, beautiful
Shukran.
really.
Shukran.
And it's just, it would be actually a beautiful occasion for us to meet, would be if you would come somehow with the family to Southern California, of course, to take the little one to Disney. And then maybe we can have a little bit of time at Nazareth's, in fact, smoking some cigars and exchanging ideas. That would be really a great occasion.
Yeah, for sure. It would be a pleasure, for sure. I would love to.
Sa'a this year, he says, "Hello, Lord. Best wishes to Jamie. Patek is king. Jamie Opulence is king." And he's really gracing us with his presence today.
You're too kind. Thank you, and good evening, Saad. Pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, look at that beautiful movement.
It has exactly the same movement, the 240 HU. It's exactly the same movement. The difference is mine is 38.5, and if I'm not mistaken, hers is 36.
Yeah, I mean, look, allow me to be saccharine here and wax poetic a little bit, but two watches with the same heart beating in them, what better to define the love you
Oh
have for each
God,
other?
I'm gonna lose my head. So, Lord, that's very sweet what you've just said. Wow,
It's
two
beautiful.
hearts. You're absolutely right. They both have the same movement. I've never thought of it that way, but yeah, wow. But like I say, I just have this vision when I really get traveling again. I'm in Singapore. She's here. She looks down at the wrist, because let's give the guys an example. So, looking at the left watch right now, according to the time on that clock, it's what 10 to 11. Sorry, 10 to 12. So it's 11:50. Over on the where's Singapore? Let's use Singapore as an example. Uh, okay, would it be Sydney? Is Singapore on there? No. So we would have to use perhaps Bangkok. So unless I'm mistaken, but yeah, you would. So my wife would be looking at her time as say 10 to 11, and then she would glance across to the right, and she would see, okay, it's coming up 6 p.m. in Bangkok, or let's say I'm in Hawaii, it's 1 a.m. in Hawaii, or let's say it's in Mexico, it's 5 a.m. You can just glance without pressing the pusher. You can just glance and see the time anywhere in the world, and I think that's incredible. I really think that's incredible.
And you
You know,
can, of course, use the pusher to
yeah,
change your primary time, your main time,
right.
to precisely what the red shows here, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, so what I would do so I've got it to Paris, right? On my one, you can see Paris at the top. I would press it so it goes round. So if I'm in Tokyo, I'd have Tokyo at the top. So you're absolutely right. You'd press the pusher to go round to where you are, your local time. But even if you didn't want to press the pusher, say so Paris is my time zone. I could very quickly, okay, Lord, it's midday for me here in Europe. Los Angeles is coming up to 3 a.m. So I have an idea of the time just by glancing.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. I really get excited by that you can just so easily see the time anywhere in the world.
And it really means something. I know, for example, that a lot of gentlemen in Hong Kong are now after some of these earlier models because
Right.
Hong Kong has been replaced by Beijing
Sure.
now.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of a badge of honor to have your city's name on there.
Yeah.
It's special.
Yeah, they changed it, didn't they? This 5231J, the one on the left, this was released in 2019, and it's just been discontinued. But they changed it from Hong Kong to Beijing, and they've now put Beijing on the dial. But yeah, I mean, I guess for Patek, it probably makes more sense because Hong Kong, in comparison to the China market, I think it's a no-brainer, right? Okay, very rich people in Hong Kong, but China as a country is much larger for sales. So I would imagine that's probably what's driven it, but I don't know for sure. I'm possibly speaking out of turn.
I mean, China is a continent, right? It's, of course, it's a country, but it's also a continent. So it's when you compare the proportion, of course, it's an immense market. Hong Kong
Mm,
is a very special market for luxury items
yeah.
and watches, of course, not to neglect that. But um, still, I can see the reasoning behind
Mhm.
it. I don't necessarily want to get on board with it so easily myself, but
Yeah.
of course, I understand. I understand why they changed it up, and more power to them. Again, this is a very exquisite watch. But these are not, we talked about your history in Pateks, and we talked about what brought you to these beautiful pieces in particular. But these are still, at this point in time, not the only Pateks that you have in your possession. So I want to share the next piece in your collection that we will open now. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, some technical difficulties, friends.
You're going to the next one. I know which one. The pocket watch.
Don't give it away just yet.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this hype watch. That's very much its own thing, because everyone is dying for Tiffany dials at this point. And here's a Tiffany dial for you that many of you have not yet seen. Jamie.
Yeah, sure. So this is a Tiffany dial pocket watch made by Patek Philippe in 1899, retailed by Tiffany in 1901. Collectability is the company that I bought this from. Collectability is run by a guy called John Reardon, based in New York. John Reardon, he's worked for Sotheby's, Christie's. John Reardon is a reliable source of information when it comes to Patek. He's done a number of videos for Patek at Patek's expense, so they've brought him in to do videos and to speak on their behalf. And I just got down the rabbit hole, with the whole horology thing, with the clocks, the wristwatch, and here we are with a pocket watch. I just have this fascination or fixation with telling the time and the means of telling time. This pocket watch was a purchase for my daughter, or should I say our daughter. And I wrote her a lovely letter, handwritten with my fountain pen. And it went along the lines of, to our darling daughter, and it gave a brief description of the pocket watch. Please accept this, blah, 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 blah. And I just have this vision of one day my daughter reading the letter again with the pocket watch in, I don't know, 30 years, 40 years down the line, and thinking of Dad. That's the vision that I have with this pocket watch. And I have to just add, this is a 5-minute repeater. So there's a slider. You slide the slider and then it chimes. It chimes the time. So if it's, I don't know, 3:30, it will chime ding, ding, ding for 3 hours. And then for 30 minutes, it will chime 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So it will chime 6 times. And, I take my daughter to the side. I tell her, close your eyes. Let me put this next to your ear. I press the chime. Sorry, I slide the slider and then it chimes. And it's just special, absolutely special. And like I say, it was the idea of heirloom. I imagine pocket watches are often heirlooms today. Yeah. A lot of the pocket watches that are around are very, very old because they predate what is the wristwatch. So, of course, I'm not that old, but this was my way of, getting the pocket watch today for the future. She's 7 years old, so she probably doesn't quite grasp it just yet. But later on in life, I imagine that she's going to be appreciative of dad and his pocket watch. And like I say, that's hers. That's for her. And she's got a lovely handwritten letter
Yeah.
to go with it.
She has the extract from the archives, of course.
Yep.
She has a handwritten letter from Mr. Reardon. Dear Jamie, thank you for your business. Hope you will enjoy your Patek Philippe watch. It's look, I mean, I'm myself enchanted with the 19th century. I love the turn of century aesthetics. But how many of us have the fortune of actually owning a watch like this and having it as part of our collection and having it as an heirloom? And it is a minute repeater, so the warmth and the feeling of that sound, of that chime in and of itself is part of the experience. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, there's something. I mean, a lot of these watches and whatnot we get to look at, but there's something. Like you have cinemas, which is you just look at the screen, and you have 3D cinemas, 4D cinemas, where you feel the air and maybe a bit of water dropping, maybe the chairs moving. So when you're trying to tell the time, well, here you go. You can actually hear the time because you can close your eyes, and by listening to the chimes, you can tell the time. You don't necessarily have to look at it. So it's like an additional dimension to tell the time. So yeah. This pocket watch is it's special. And like I say, for me, it was about giving her something, putting something in place. I don't know how long I've got, but I know that I've got that box ticked. She's got that ready. If I depart this evening, for example, could be tonight, it could be 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. I know that I've ticked that little box that she's going to have that something from dad.
Look what Mrs. Teague wrote. So beautiful. She'll close her eyes, hear the chime, and feel her father's arms around her.
That's the goal. That's the goal. If I can get that to happen, my job's done. I'm happy.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Jamie.
I encourage all of you guys. I mean, we're all into our wristwatches, but take a look at the pocket watch section of horology, because they're not that expensive, actually, truth be told, because there's not so much demand.
So I've said to begin with that this collection really expresses the close bond and affection you have to the people who are closest to you. And I have watched many times over that beautiful presentation you made of your watch box and of your collection. And the fact that that collection has the pieces for your wife in it, to me, was something that drew me to you. Honestly, I was like, I have to know this guy. I have to learn more about him. I have to talk to him. So here's a piece that belongs to your wife again. And as we are all fond of Rolex, I think it's a good point to switch the gears ever so.
All right. Yeah, this is an this one's an interesting story. So I was in Bangkok on a business trip. I was with this guy Mark. He was an absolute nutter, right? An absolute nutter. He I give you the whole story. So we went out. He got this girl. He wanted to go back to the hotel. No problem. I'll share the tuk-tuk back. I'm not doing those things. That's just not me. But no problem. I'll share the tuk-tuk. But anyway, he's trying to procure some drugs, and I was just like, what the hell? You don't do these things in Thailand. So we got back to the hotel. I was like, he went to his room. I was like, I'm out. I pulled out my laptop. I booked the very first flight to Europe, which was to Helsinki, and I whizzed to the airport at like 4 a.m. to get out of that country, because I didn't know what this guy was going to do, if he was going to try and get drugs or what. But if he did, I didn't want to be part of it. I was in the room next to him, and it could have gone bad for me. So I was at the airport, Bangkok airport, 4 a.m. The Rolex shop was just opening. And I told my wife, I'm coming home, blah, blah, blah. I want to come home. And the Rolex shop was open. And I said, shall I get you something? And I just remember it was like 5 a.m, 6 a.m-ish. I was FaceTiming her from the Rolex store in the airport. And that's how it happened. She chose that one on FaceTime. I bought it, jumped on the flight, and off to Helsinki, connecting flight. But that's where it all came about. It was this crazy mad guy in Bangkok that I was with, and I did the runner to get out of that country as quickly as possible, because I didn't know what the hell that guy was going to do, and what the implications could have been for me if it had all gone wrong. And on the way out, I picked this up at the airport.
It's really beautiful. By the way, just a short note about Helsinki and the Finnish people, who are very dear to my heart. They can come off as a little bit aloof, distant, and to a certain extent even antisocial. But all you need to do really is to offer them a couple of drinks, and the way a Finnish person opens up once they get over that sober state, which ails a lot of us, it's just beautiful. I've made some great friends in the short time I spent in Finland, Helsinki, and Turku.
I need to go to visit properly, and of course they have Lapland. It's just perfect. Everything's set up for me to go, and it's just by coincidence of me on Skyscanner searching the quickest flight out that it took me to Helsinki. And one thing leads to another thing with me. I grabbed the first flight. It was a business class flight, Finnair, and in business class they're serving with real glasses. So they've got these special handmade glasses that you drink from. And then when I got home, I was like, okay, I need to find out what that glass was, and I ended up buying that glassware for my home. Even the face creams in the amenity kit, it's from a company called La Bruquette, and to this day, all these years later, I still use that face cream. So it was that coincidental coincidental encounter with Finnair that led me to these things, and I have really big illusion to visit Finland.
Naturally, it's a beautiful country. Its people are very beautiful and actually very, very warm. They might come across as very aloof, very distant at some level, but you just need to be patient, and they know their music. So if you are interested in jazz, for example, they have beautiful jazz festivals. If you're interested in hard rock and metal, they have, again, some of the best. So there's so many excuses to visit that country, and there's also a very beautiful ship that goes from Stockholm to Turku, and you take it at a certain time in the summer where you have longest days. So you will have you will have all this time to observe all the natural beauty
Yeah.
from the sea, at sea. Just make sure it's the right time. Make it coincide with a music festival if that's possible. So that takes you to late spring, summer. It's really a beautiful country, and
Yeah.
I'm sure with these layers of experience and memory that you already hold, it will be a very special visit.
Across all of this part of the world, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland. I was in Iceland late last year. Beautiful, beautiful people. Great people. And, I think there's a bit of a theme here. There's all these, like, for example, Bangkok, all these places. They've all left a lasting impact on me and the way I think. Travel for me equals richness. It's not about how much money I have in the bank or what objects I have or whatnot. It's the travel which truly makes me rich. I feel very rich from traveling. Travel makes me rich.
It's actually the one of the very first time I went to Finland was backpacking right out of high
Really.
school. And I got one of those month-long train tickets that allow you to just take any train at the lowest class level. And to this day, I have had so many other travels where I spent tons and tons of money, but the richness of that first experience when I was simply backpacking, it's unmatched. So I certainly, it resonates with me when you say travel is richness, and it's not in any direct way connected with the money you pour in.
No, it's travel, whether it's and actually it's not necessarily traveling opulently with 5-star hotels and whatnot or business class. It doesn't matter what level of travel it is, whether it's backpacking or business class, first class, 5-star. It doesn't matter for me. It's just being in different places and experiencing different cultures and just observing the way people are, the way they think, the way they speak, the way they conduct themselves. And I pick up little bits from everyone, from Indians, from Pakistanis, from Emiratis, or from Finland, Finnish people. I pick up these little bits, and I try and bring those little bits, and it hopefully makes me more of a rounded person. But yeah, I implore travel. Travel is everything for me.
Yeah, hopefully in this new normal, we'll find more time. I know you have your trip scheduled for the London Watch Show. I will be watching from the sidelines, but I already look forward to experiencing that trip with my friends from the Watch.
Travel feels like it's starting to open up. I'm going to England next week for a trip to Lancaster. I'm coming back the week after. I'm going back to London for the Watch Show. I have a trip booked to Mexico in September. I'm planning to take my father to Melbourne in August to see his sister. And then I'm also planning something perhaps for July with my wife and daughter. So it feels like the agenda, so to speak, for 2022 is starting to fill up. And then, of course, I would imagine work-wise, I'll be back on my travels very soon as well, to Asia. So, it does feel like we're coming out of this pandemic. Chopard Imperiale.
This is another watch that I find really beautiful, and it also belongs to your wife. This was after the Datejust?
Nope. This was her very first watch.
Okay.
And I put up. I said to her, "Let's get you a watch." I put up so much resistance. Why this? Why this was what she wanted. I said, "Why do you want this? Get a Rolex." I put up so much resistance, but whatever. she won her way. This was what she wanted. This is what she got. So it's rose gold, two-tone. Obviously, you've got your diamonds. You've got your mother of pearl in the center. But I have to say the pearl is very important for us because our daughter's name is Perla, which of course in English is pearl. So there's many items of jewelry and whatnot that we often buy that have pearl because of the connection with our daughter's name. So
Yes.
yeah, she was very. This was the watch she won, and I have to say this was probably about 2016 that we bought this. So fast forward to today, I really appreciate this watch for her, and she wears it often. She switches really between the Chopard, this watch, and the date just ladies date just. The world time is really for special occasions, but she wears this watch a lot, a hell of a lot, and
Yeah.
it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
You
She
know,
looks great with this watch.
as much as I appreciate precious metals in watches, there's something about two-tone watches that draws the eye to itself and that expresses a unique kind of beauty. And this watch has so many other details as well that make it so beautiful. You know, those diamond encrusted bezel, the way that the bracelet connects to the head of the watch, and that mother of pearl dial on a woman's watch, I think is a very nice touch. And of course, who can say I, I hardly find words to express the connection that mother of pearl has to Padla specifically.
For sure.
It's so dear. It's so
Yeah,
dear.
and we all have this between me and my wife. We know that ultimately these are going to belong to her. So for her to have pearl in a watch, yeah, it just gives it emits a nice feeling. So yeah, I love this watch for her, and she you can see she scratched the hell out of it. She wears it all the time.
That's
And I
I
love
mean,
I love seeing her at the school gate with it on her wrist, just classy. My wife is bloody classy. Good girl, very good girl.
look, the thing is, we invest these watches with so much emotion, we endow them with so much meaning, and we humanize them in a certain way, right? In English, you can, of course, we say the dial, the dial, the dial, but we also say sometimes the face of the watch, right? That's one of the anthropomorphic elements that we use to describe a watch. And this watch has a face that's made of pearl. And for Padla to one day uh, get this watch from her mother and wear it proudly with mother of pearl on its face, to me, it ties everything together so beautifully and so
Yeah,
meaningful.
yeah. But it's I look back and I smile at how it all came about. I said, okay, we're gonna get you a watch. Have a think about it. I was doing what I was doing, working. She disappears to town. She comes back. Yeah. I found the watch. I found the watch. I went and had a look. I was like, no. You don't want this. Come on. You should get a Rolex because she didn't own a Rolex. This was her first watch. I said, no. You don't want this, babe. Come on. Let's have a look at a Rolex because this was like 2015. The price that we paid was like 9,000 euros. You could get most of the Rolexes at that time, the women's ladies date just and whatnot. You could get all of them for the same price, but she was insisting this is the watch, and okay, no problem. We go with what you want. And anyway, fast forward 6-7 years later. It was the correct decision, and I've really enjoyed seeing that watch on her wrist all these years.
Yeah. Patricia, expresses it so beautifully also. Two-tone watches get a lot of negative comments, but for someone who prefers yellow gold jewelry, it's a way to tie it all together.
Yeah, I think we have to also say so with the Chopard watch, um, it's it's often seen as a piece of jewelry. So it's not just a watch; it's actually a jewelry piece. I think the Rolex is all the mechanics, and of course that's where there was a famous interview that Thierry Stern did from the head of Patek, and he was asked why don't you do so many mechanical watches for the women? He said because the women don't like it. They don't like having to wind their watches, and they've got to reset the time and whatnot. They want quartz. So yeah, this Chopard, it's quartz. You just put it back on the wrist. The time is still running. And but anyway, I love this watch. It was the correct watch, correct decision at the time. It didn't feel like the correct decision from my side. I was really, come on, look at a Rolex. Why do you want quartz? Come on, you should get a Rolex. But she wouldn't give in, and I'm happy she didn't now.
Absolutely, and there's something to be said about quartz watches. I've been mentioning this. Some people very easily call them soulless, but let's face the fact that all of these watches lack soul until we breathe some life into them.
Right.
When it comes to pieces of jewelry, and at the end of the day, our wristwatches too are a piece of men's jewelry. Having a quartz movement makes it just so much easier to manufacture something that's very thin, sleek, elegant, and like you said, something that you can put on in a nonchalant way, without having to think about resetting everything and just go out with. So for a piece of jewelry, I think it's very befitting. I do also appreciate brands like Chopard and Piaget that produce beautiful thin movements as well to befit those pieces of jewelry. But when that's not there, I think quartz is a good compromise, and it fits this piece.
Yeah.
Makes it timeless in a way.
Yeah, I've enjoyed seeing this on her wrist. I've really enjoyed seeing it on her wrist all these years.
Speaking of two-tone watches and Rolex, let's consider this next beautiful piece. Your
Yeah. Bluesy. So, I kind of, with this watch, it's for moments when I feel like being a bit loud. I have the Reverso, which is low key, and I want to be understated, but I also have these moments where I want to, be a bit loud. And where I live in Malaga, Marbella, it's sunny, constantly sunny, very similar to California weather. It's got the sunburst dial, two-tone. My God, it just pops, it explodes. So it's for me. This watch is fun. The Bluesy is it feels fun, and when I feel like being fun, this is the watch I go to. I don't wear this watch often. I try to sort of rotate as much as possible. It really depends on my mood, but this watch is for when I feel like being fun.
It really is, and it does. The blue of the watch, of course, is a very nice touch that connects you to that nautical theme. The sunburst dial, of course, is just enlivened by that touch of sunlight. The Bluesy is a classic, I think. It has a place in just about any Rolex collection for sure. It's beautiful, and I'm very fond of two-tone watches to begin with, and the Bluesy is a classic.
Yeah. See, my wife is, she was born in Lebanon, grew up in Iraq. Yellow gold is very popular in the Middle East, right?
Mhm.
They love yellow gold. So my wife, when I got the watch, she was like, because we'd actually been talking about me getting this for a number of years, and we just kept putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. And when I got it, she was like, "See, this is the watch I told you to get. This is the watch I want to remember you by. Why didn't you buy it all those years ago?" So it kind of reaffirms that it was the correct decision when I did eventually pull the trigger. But I have actually had, like I said, I had the date just before that. I also had the Hulk, the Submariner Hulk. But times were bad. I had to sell it. But yeah, this is my one and done Rolex. I'm not that interested, to be honest with you, to come and collect Rolex. I think actually, if you look at the collection, it's very diverse. We've got JLC, Patek, Rolex, Omega, Chopard. So there's it's very diverse, and especially when you look at the gender. So for Jamie's got a JLC, he's got a Patek, he's got a Rolex, and he's got an Omega. I got four different brands.
Yeah.
For my wife, she's got Chopard, Patek, Rolex, and then of course we've got the pocket watch, which is technically the little ones. So yeah, I think that's actually quite interesting. I don't really have any interest to get any more Rolex. I really like Rolex, but yeah, I feel content with what we have got.
Yeah. I mean, again, if you're gonna have one Rolex watch as a man, I think the Bluesy is just an exquisite choice. It's and in this collection, it also makes so much sense. I can see the two of you going out to soak in some sun. Um, the missus wearing the Chopard, you wearing your Bluesy, the little one perhaps wearing a wristwatch that she enjoys.
Yeah. She the little one. I've got her. I've got her from Swatch, Flick Flack. They make watches for kids. So actually at home we have a watch stand on the beauty table in the bedroom. My wife puts her watch, daughter puts her watch in the middle, and then my watch goes on the end. So it's like the three watches are on. So yeah, the little one's actually getting involved already
If
in the
if it is
wristwatches.
not too much trouble, do you have a photo of that? Do you have a visual of that watch stand that you can share with us?
Yeah, I do. If it's not too much trouble, just bear with me. But
Of
I
course.
do.
In the meantime, since we have also smoked, and it is a little too early, but we are past noon, and it is 5 o'clock somewhere. So I brought out something that I can actually taste after having smoked a cigar, a peat monster, so to speak, an Ardbeg 10. Um, Very masculine, very smoky, tarry. So I'm gonna pour myself a little dram.
Go on, Lord. That sounds beautiful. Let's see if I can find you.
Oh,
Yeah, I have a picture here. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. So open. Okay, share screen. Window. Here we go. Alrighty.
cheers, Jane. Thank you.
Cheers. Cheers, Lord.
And what are you drinking, Jamie?
I have a gin and tonic, Tanqueray, Flor de Sevilla. It's very simple. It's a gin and tonic prepared in a bottle. No messing
Nice.
around.
Enjoy.
So thank you. So this is she's got, this is my little girl's hand. She's got three watches. In this case, it's Ladybug, and it's made by Flick Flack. Ladybug is a cartoon character. Flick Flack from the Swatch Group. But yeah, so this is the watch stand that we have on my wife's beauty table. So it would often be, for example, my watch, and then the little one's watch in the middle, and then of course the wife's watch on the end. But yeah, the watch stand. This is it's pretty cool. I'd recommend it because you put your watches on the brace. I don't know what you do, Lord, but most people they put the watch on the table or on a dressing room a table next to the bed, a mini table next to the bed. You get the micro scratches. So with the watch stand, it's of course leather, Italian leather, Italian marble, and it's nice to just, when you walk into the room, you take a look to the left and you see the watch stand, and you've got them, with prominence.
Yeah, the watch stand is always a beautiful idea, especially, again, because forget about the monetary value, but again, we care so much for these pieces, and we don't want to just get scratched and damaged, willy-nilly, for in a moment of carelessness.
I never thought about the micro scratches. It was just I put these watches on such a pedestal that I care so much about these watches. It was just nice to put them in its own stand, as a way of caring for them, as though they have their own soul. They're not just an inanimate object for me. They're actually items that I feel have souls, so to speak.
Yeah, I prefer these what they call vite-poche in French, like these leather suede trays that they have.
Oh yeah.
Goya has beautiful ones, and I'm just gonna bring that up last.
Please.
I really love your watch case as well. But yes, I think it again expresses the care that you put into your life and into these precious things that mean so much to you beyond just any calculus.
Accessory, yeah. They're not just an accessory. Everything's calculated. So I'm calculating, why did I buy that watch? Because of this emotion, this travel, this blah blah blah. So yeah, there's a great deal of care that I want to comfort these watches with.
Let's talk about your Seamaster, which is a watch that I really enjoy as well. I love the color of blue, and this is a blue watch with a very nice wave dial.
Yeah, sure. So this all happened. So the Seamaster came very quickly. So after I had effectively decimated my watch collection by part exchanging 3 watches to get the world time, I was like, shit, hang on a minute. I can't wear the world time every day. What am I going to wear when I'm not wearing the world time? And secondly, I had really enjoyed the Patek Philippe Aquanaut, which was on the rubber strap. I really, really enjoyed wearing a rubber strap watch. So very, very quickly, I found the Omega Seamaster. And for me, Lord, buying this Omega Seamaster was like one way of me sticking my fingers up at Rolex with all their games, with all their hoops and whatnot. if I want to buy this Omega Seamaster, I can go and buy it today, no problems. And guess what? I can even get a discount. So it ticked the criteria, which was to have a rubber strap. And it was also a nice way of sticking a finger up at Rolex because I could get it today without any games. And this is my sporty watch. I did that trip to Iceland, and this was the watch that I wore for Iceland because when you're going on snowmobiles across glaciers, you're going in ice caves. This is a cool watch for that environment. It's rugged. It can take a beating. So I quite like the Seamaster. It's pretty cool. I love the story as well behind it.
Well, one thing I want to say, even though I'm a Rolex man, I love that scene in Casino Royale when Bond meets Vespa for the first time. And of course, Eva Green is for me the platonic ideal of woman. I just adore her to an unhealthy extent, if I may confess. And she starts what we call soul reading James Bond. And he says, well, let me guess, you're wearing a Rolex. Mm-hmm. And he says, no, Omega. So I like that middle finger very subtly extended in that scene to the kind of exclusivity, snobbery, and aloofness that Rolex has unfortunately taken on over the years. But my rubber strap watch is actually this, and I do want to share it with you since we have broached the subject. This is my rubber strap watch. Let's see if you recognize it in this form.
Is this a custom rubber strap that you've added to a watch?
This is actually
Rolex.
This with the watch. Well,
okay.
From the way I inherited from my father, it was actually right next to the Submariner in its own case. It's an old school Tropic rubber strap with the curved edges.
Yeah.
And I combine it with a nice Rolex tank buckle with the crown, with the coronet, you can say.
Yeah.
And as you see from this angle, that plastic dome just looks beautiful. And I think it combines with the vintage Rolex in quite a special way. I like changing things around. I like tinkering with my watches. That's why I love vintage Rolex with the Hulse case. I can just pop out the original bracelet, which is beautiful. The riveted oyster, I think, is still a design that's timeless. That's why you have them with the faux rivets in Tudor, for example, which make them aesthetically very compelling. Functionally, not so much, but that's another discussion altogether. Mm-hmm. But I love the idea of wearing a sports watch as it's meant to be. Wear the hell out of it and wear it on a rubber strap, especially when you are getting closer to the sea or to the ocean. What better way of wearing what was meant to be a diver's watch on a rubber strap?
Absolutely. And just close your eyes and dive in that sea. Just dive. Why not? I don't know if I'd dive with that watch, but with my Seamaster, I would.
I know people will hate me for this, but I have actually swam with this watch right after having the gas checked out.
Okay. Yeah. Bloody hell. Wow. That's interesting. MLMG, tropical rubber. That's interesting. I'm just going to touch on that. Tropical rubber. That's very interesting.
Yeah, that's it. Tropic. Yeah, that's the name of the brand. They used to produce them in Switzerland. Nowadays, if I'm not mistaken, they're produced in Italy. They have revived the brand. They don't currently make curved end straps. Um, but I'm sure they will bring them together in due time. They're still very beautiful. Tropic is the name of the brand. Drop the AL. And I think they still make very reliable, very sporty, and vintage looking rubber straps. So if you want to embellish your watch or even tone it down in a certain way, and what, independent of the brand, because they do produce them in different lug widths, it's a great choice. Tropic rubber straps. I'm not endorsed by them, but hey, if they're interested, I would very much like that.
Wow.
So let's talk about this beautiful watch case that I'm lusting after as well.
Goyard.
Yes.
It's another beautiful encounter that's come about because of this watch collecting journey. I'd not been introduced or encountered Goyard until now, so I collected a number of watches, and then it was a case of I need to find a home for these watches, and I looked at the Louis Vuitton watch box. But I kind of, I don't know. I think I'm often contrarian, perhaps in some ways.
Yeah.
And for me, Goyard is just that way of meeting my personality and being that little bit contrarian to the Louis Vuitton mass-produced. Because I don't really I like Louis Vuitton in some ways, but actually, when it gets down to it, I find them. Everybody's wearing Louis Vuitton handbags and Louis Vuitton wallets and whatnot. So Goyard is another way of just distinguishing, separation from the masses. So, the Goyard watch, it's crafted, of course, handmade, beautiful leathers. The smells, we can talk about the smells of the leather. Beautiful again. But just a lovely, lovely box. And actually, it's half the price of a Louis Vuitton watch box of eight watch box. So it's half the price. But it's a nice home for those watches.
Well, I do, being servile subject of the almighty pontiff, I love my Louis Vuitton. I can't deny that. I do prefer them in the discreet and to a large extent extinct Taiga leathers, where the branding is minimal. But when it comes to this watch case in particular, I find it a lot more casual, a lot more sporty in a way. That leather strap that wraps around it, I think, is a nice touch. And the tan leather, or you can call it caramel, you can call it anything, I think is a beautiful contrast. The stitching on it is, again, it's a good demonstration of the craftsmanship, of the art, of the labor that goes into these special leather objects. And I think it complements your collection in just the right way, and great balance of sportiness and liveliness with the classic elegance that also is part of your style.
Inshallah, thank you. It's very kind of you to say so, and that's exactly how I feel with the box. Everything fits perfectly. I'm not talking size-wise. I'm just talking everything fits. The style and the reasons behind the watches fit with the message that I receive from Goyard. When I think of Goyard, and I think of the message and the way they conduct themselves and the way Goyard is as a business and the way that they, sell and promote themselves, I love it. I love everything about the way Goyard go about themselves.
They are very French, I must say that.
Mm.
But once
Stubborn.
yeah, once you kind of submit to their rules, they can be very pleasant to deal with. Once you establish a relationship with them, once you establish um, a relationship with an associate in an actual boutique, um, everything falls away, and you just have uh, a luxury brand, yes, an international conglomerate, yes, but one that treats you in a very unique and personal and even an intimate way. When something new comes in that might be of interest to you, they will send you a message, they will call you, and if you don't particularly want that item, no worries. They do have something else for you. And they really have a very, very deep collection that can cater to all these different tastes, all these other aspects of your life. They have beautiful wallets, of course, handbags, tote bags for the ladies. They have great pieces of luggage. They have beautiful cigar cases, and like you
Mm.
pointed out to me, the tan leather just complements the leaf. Um, that wraps your cigar so so like so uniquely and so appropriately that it's really very tasteful.
Sure. Yeah. It's been pleasant for me to have found Goyard, but again, it wasn't intentional. It wasn't. I didn't go looking for Goyard. It just somehow got, you know, face to face with Goyard, and again, it's a pleasant encounter, and I love what I've found in
And
Goyard.
yeah, once again, it just fits, for
Yeah.
you. It's yet another piece that you
Yeah.
came across in your journey,
Mm.
and it again, it found, well, your watches have found the right home for
Yeah.
themselves at
Yeah.
the end of this journey. And
Yeah.
it's
It's all very rational, but also emotionally driven. My my selection thought process, and if it makes sense in my brain, it can happen. So I don't know if I'm complex or not, but I think actually in many ways I'm pretty simplistic. Uh, I'm a pretty simple person, but yeah, Goyard is special for me, for sure.
Jamie, thank you so much for sharing everything. And I think,
Mm.
again, there's a lot of complex uh, stories, thought, and emotions that went into this collection. And it is usually the most difficult thing to make it look so simple, so meaningful, and so well put together. And to me, that is your collection. So I'm very grateful that you came here, that you gave us your time, that you gave us your presence, and that you shared this singular collection with us
Yeah.
today.
Equally from my side, uh, you're the perfect person for me to talk to and to to dig deep and express the meaning behind each item. So I thank you for the platform that you've now developed. I saw the plastic interview, I saw the Big Meech interview, and I just knew I had to get on and share my story. And I hope there's going to be many more to follow me in sharing stories with you, and ultimately myself being as a viewer. I'm really looking forward to this from your channel.
Uh, أهلا وسهلا لذلك أنت الأهل. It's you have, this is your home. um, and I'm glad I could put you at ease for
Oh,
this
big
hour
time.
we shared together.
Yeah.
Um,
The only slight discomfort. I need a wee wee.
Right.
That's
So
the only.
let's give Jamie that time. I will
Please.
put myself on solo. Um, Guys, thank you so much for being with us today. I have another stream coming up later in the day where I will focus on this beautiful day date oyster quartz that belonged to Sir Michael Caine and that recently broke a record for a Rolex quartz watch in a recent auction at the Bonhams. And I will also try to think about the ways in which that auction market has influenced the secondary market in watches with the help of this beautiful little book, um, Rolex, the history, icons, and record breaking models. Um, I'm really looking forward to sharing this with you guys. In many ways, of all the books that I have presented, this is one that really ties everything together so well, both in terms of its presentation, but also in terms of the useful information that it brings to the table. Um, that being said, I am doing these collection interviews for free until the end of this month. So feel free to send me an email to this Gmail address that's connected to the PayPal. I would love to share a similar moment with all of you. To me, everyone who belongs to the Archiverse, everyone who belongs to this community that was initiated by the Pontiff and that is constantly being built and rebuilt, and that's perpetually growing. It would be an honor for me to look at your watches, to talk about them, and to know more about you as a person. So please send me an email. Please send me a few pictures and even videos of your collection. And I would love to do it at a right time where we can have you as part of that discussion, where you can join me on the live stream. That being said, again, as cheesy as it sounds, like, subscribe, and tell all your friends. And if you want to encourage me and help me produce more original content in a way that takes me perhaps out and about, visiting some of these boutiques and some of the dealers that I have around me in Los Angeles, please consider making a donation, whatever you can, either through PayPal, that would be lordhellespontv@gmail.com, or via Cash App, which is $LHVVV. In either case, I'm already honored and really encouraged by your presence, by your contributions in the chat. Again, please consider sending me an email of your collection, and please consider also sending me future topics. You know, if you want to learn more about the history of a brand, about a particular model of a watch, or if you would like me to advise you on a new purchase and want an informed and focused discussion of that particular purchase, please send me an email. All of this until the end of March are absolutely free unless you would like to contribute. So take advantage of that. This community has provided so much to me and to my life. It has brought so much joy into my life. So for me, it's just a little way that I'm giving back to the community. And I hope I was able to do that today for the time we spent together with Mr. Opulence. Thank you.
You're a legend, Lord. Thank you. I
Goodbye.
really enjoyed myself. Goodbye.
Likewise, it's my pleasure.